Okay, we are live. Let's go. お願いします。
お願いします。
Okay, we'll do a little bit just like say die. Just hold the body up. Just play a little bit with the base, so you can do this with like quite narrow. Just move the camera down a little bit. With a quite narrow base, the feet quite short. Do it a little bit wider. Just experiment, explore it a little bit. Just feel what difference it makes. Having like a wide base, narrow base, super narrow base, even just on the toes. So you can just kind of come onto the toes, do the same action. Just feel what difference it makes having kind of different bases. You can also do the same one, it's a bit more tricky. You go into like hand me. You kind of stand so the foot's in front of the other. And you'll feel the difference in the position, especially if you've got the feet one in front of the other. The way you mobilize the body will be different, so the way your relationship to the ground will change. What I mean by that is if you go into like this position, I can just do that, but I feel like in order to really get the most out of that move, I've got to start to work the feet a bit more. So I've got to really do these kind of things. So just explore it. Just notice the difference. Every position really has a different kind of quality. Work a little bit with the head and with the arms as well. Just kind of swinging them in a vertical. So explore a little bit with the arms, then you can like swing them in arcs up, and you can also just let them drop. Pull them up, drop them down. Pull them up, drop them down. Just play a little bit with the arms. Also let them go all the way over. Both ways. So, good. Okay, front and back. Just exploring it. Shifting the movement down a little bit to the chest. Also really exploring the neck as well. So this whole area, the neck, lots of range of movement front and back. So just again, explore all the parts of the body. Shoulders, front and back. Chest, front and back. Hips, front and back. Knees, toes, ankles, all this stuff. They can all really function on the same lines. Just check the mobility in all the areas. Also play sometimes not really what they do in Seitai, but like feel that you can chain parts of the body together. So if I think about chaining the core together for the neck, so it makes sometimes a bit stiff, but just play with it a little bit. You've got these kind of motions. And I think about, rather than stiffness, think about coming into like dynamic tension. So it's something dynamic, you're engaged. A little bit like how we would make the cut, where I need the whole system to kind of come online and work together, which is a bit different from stiffness. And it doesn't really have a sense of a kind of looseness. Again, it's kind of taking the slack out of the system. We just play with it like front and back. And again, narrow base, wide base, feet in front of the other. If you're in a hammy, this is a good one for front and back. You've got a big range of motion. The feet become really quite solid, and then you can really start to work with the hips as well. So these rowing exercises come from in Aikido that we sometimes see. Yeah, that's it. And with this one, just to work the arms, go like this way. You can do this one front and back. You can also do this one. This is a nice one for really opening the body out. And just check the rhythm, because you can do it like front, back, or you can do back, front. And they each have a different kind of quality. Again, just it's about opening the body out. You can lead it with the elbows, lead with the arms. You can play with it. And the aim for me for all of these exercises, apart from being centered, more balanced, more connected, is to just feel more of the body. So feel more and more different parts of the body that might not get a lot of time during the day. So good. Okay, side to side. And just start in this position, and then feel free, you can change the base, make it a bit narrower, make it a bit wider. Even it's a little bit more difficult with the one foot in front of the other. You can just, yeah, just do it there. And then again, play with the arms. You can do lots of things with the arms in this case. This one's a nice one, especially for Joe work. This one's a nice one, just letting the arms come out. This one's a nice one, letting the arms come over. Basically anything, if you imagine like a lateral line running straight through the body, just imagine the arms can just pass along that line. You can also rotate them this way. But anything where the arm's going to stay along that line. And just let the body do it as well. So, good. That's it. Yeah. Very nice. Nice. Yeah, this is also a good one for the head as well. So I see some of you doing this, which is really nice. It's like letting the head really go with it. So you've got you've got all this movement in the head that's not like a rotational movement, and it's not like that movement. It's something like that. So it's like the neck flexing side to side. And this is really important for us in terms of like techniques like Iriminage, where the neck's being like pulled. And I need to really have this neck muscle needs to be pretty strengthened. So we strengthen it naturally in the Ukemi work. It's also nice to just mobilize it as well. So just like that. So that. Good. So. Okay, now one we're really used to, just going to the hips. Feel the body sink now much more into the ground. And you can think of this like a rotational movement. I prefer to think of it like a spiral. So it's referred to in the Seita as like a turning rotational axis. I think of it much more like a spiral. So think about passing a spiral up through the body. You can also pass it down. It's going to kind of work both ways. One thing to just try is like lock, it's not quite locking again, but it's like solidifying the structure in the lower body, but it becomes quite locked. And then you know, just play with like how much I can rotate the upper body. So it's like isolating the upper body. You can also do this just with the neck, like how do I isolate it? Now I want the whole body to go with it, but I want to feel like solidity in the base. And it's just again, just to check my mobility in that area. Just allow a rotation to pass through the upper body. The danger with this is it goes back to stiffness. And I don't want stiffness. I want something quite loose. But if you imagine like you were buried in sand up to your waist, like how much mobility would you have? You can't move the lower body. You can only move the upper body. That kind of feeling. You still got lots of mobility. Just kind of explored a little bit. And then this is a bit, one of my fascinations is the hips is like, do the same thing, I lock the top. Actually do this first, lock the top and see if you can move the bottom of the body. So now imagine like this part, you can't really imagine it, but imagine you were upside down in sand. You can only move the lower body now. So yeah, exactly like that. Like this, you've got this movement, and I can really move the leg. So start with the feet. So I start with like that movement. All these kind of dancing movements, they come from here. There's working the legs. But just imagine the upper body's kind of, I'm not too stiff, but I'm not going to kind of move it so much. And then playing with the feet. If you've got a kind of rigid floor, it might be a bit harder, but you want to kind of smooth the floor, you can do these kind of things. You can turn on the heels. Just play it a little bit. So we do these rotational movements all the time when we do like Tenkan work. This. And knowing how to mobilize the body or where I need to mobilize the body is really important. Especially when we're working with grips. If someone's got a grip on you very tight, how do I mobilize the body when I can't move that part? So how to mobilize the whole body later is really, really important for us. Okay. And then the one I really like is like, just work the center. So if you imagine this connection's stuck, this connection's kind of stuck, just that. So it's just that. This is where you get like belly dancers are incredible, and some incredible belly dancers in Spain that teach. And I've seen them teach classes and they are phenomenal at center work. So it's not just a belly, it's about the core. So I've seen some incredible people in Spain that do belly dancing. Just get a sense of all that mobility in the center of the body. And start to feel like that movement passed down. And just play with it a little bit, like you can make it very big, like a kind of wick. Or you can make it quite small, quite tight. And it's got like it's got that kind of quality. But either one that I do, I want to feel like it passes through the whole wave. So there's like a reverb through the limbs, up and out. Up, out and down, basically. Up, out and down. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Really. There we go. Good. Everywhere in Spain now has these like recreational parks for like, I think they're for older people, but they've got one where it's like a big base and you stand on it and you twist the hips like this with a handle. So you've got this kind of feel. It's like, this is great. And this is really great for us in terms of the core. And again, knowing that I can always mobilize my core, or I can mobilize from my core. It's very hard to control someone's core directly. When they do, that's when you've got like a technique being applied to you. But I can almost always go back to the core. Even if my legs are trapped, my hands are trapped. How I mobilize the core is really where we're kind of working in Aikido. So that's kind of one of the points in this. So they're fun exercises, but they're really functional in terms of what we do later, in terms of like working the body. How do I mobilize the core? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah. Just play with it a little bit. Yeah, start to play. Some of you are doing this now. Just start to play with the hands a little bit. So feel like a double line again. I want that reverb to pass to the ground and to the limbs, to the hands. But feel like you're gonna like press it down. So feel there's a double down, out, down and out. So that movement, if it's coming from the center, will just do that naturally. It will just reach the ground and it will just reach the limb. Yeah, that's it. For me, it's best to think of like slapping movements because they're quite loose. What I don't want to do is like tighten. We tend to get the center work. Everything's in center, and then I'm doing it through a stiff joint. We do like yokomuchi like this. This is all stiff, but rather get the center. It's like the core's engaged. This is quite hard, really strong, and then this is quite loose. So it's got this kind of quality. And that's happening as well in the joints down. I don't want to stiffen the joints down below. So that will just lock me up. But I want a sense of like yeah. So it's like a kind of whip. The easiest way to get this is make it big. So make it big, make it kind of boom. So mobilizing the whole body. You got these kind of slaps and also back strokes. There we go. Just play with it a little bit. Move around the room, change the feet, just really explore it. Yeah, and you can also do this multiple. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. Yeah, always this when we do free form or we do play like this, the danger is I get lost in a bit of delusion. Not delusion, but I get lost in like, it's like, I call this like fly swatting. But imagine if you're swatting a fly intentionally, it's flying around the room, and then I've got a sense of boom. I need to meet the fly at exactly the right point. Boom, and that point is like where the center meets. Boom. That to have any kind of impact on it. So imagine you're doing something functional now. So that the slap's a good one because it's quite functional, and it doesn't have to be mean. Boom, but it's just about making contact. So we like move around the space a little bit more, and then feel like boom. Find another position. And then feel like, oh, it's got something quite loose to it, but it's got a clear focus. That's it. So imagine you're really making contact with something. And what you'll find is the more aligned to my center that is, the more effective it's going to be. Because I'm basically, if it's aligned to the center, my whole weight's going to be behind it. So I want like 70 kilos behind the hand. Yeah, that's it, Serena. Good. Boom. Good. Boom. Boom. Good. What's actually interesting with kind of slapping moves, one thing is like I never need to hold the joint. So I never need to like load it and then hold it through and then bring it back. It's actually, I can do it from here. So it's like, the joint never needs to be held in position. This is one of the problems we've got in Aikido because we hold a lot of positions. Hold a position, hold a position. And those points are not like holding the structure. They're just putting the structure in place this way. But just watch this, like, because later I don't need to do any of that. It can just like flow through. Boom. So you can access this now in this kind of study. But just watch for like, I don't so much want to hold the joint in place. I can slightly like find that position, but still the joint's low, relax. So just watch this. If you go like to Yokomanuchi like that, just play with this one now. So you're going to do like a raise up, raise up, raise up, drop it down. Raise up, drop it down. Raise up, drop it down. That's it. And the point of all the weapon work we do is like, I'm not lifting the hand up, I'm not lifting the arm, I'm raising it with the center. So I'm raising it with the center and then dropping it down into the center. So just play with it a little bit. You can imagine a slap or a yokomanuchi, whatever you're kind of more comfortable with. The key part's now like the raise. That's it. Yeah, nice side chop. Good, and then just going with set. I created a one ukemi exercise in the dojo in Montreal, and I called it the wet fish exercise. And I could only do it on a few people, like Oscar, who had really great ukemi skills. And it was basically they stand in the place, and you just slap them in the face like this, right? So, but the slap needs to be absorbed like directly, right? Because if you've got the person in fear and they go like this, and then you slap them, they go everything goes everything goes bah. So everything switches on. Now, if you can get the person to like receive it and roll with it, you can actually get to a point where you can really fully slap them. Like, because the contact's not being absorbed into the head because they're moving with the contact. It's like, this is from a boxing exercise because it's like rolling with the punch. I don't want to resist the punch. I want to kind of roll with it. So if it does make contact, I'm kind of rolling off it. Right, so that's the kind of feeling, but go now with a stepping slap. So it's like this. But really feel there's a point, again, really make this center line point clear. It's like the center line's here, it comes up, and then so there's a point when I would make contact there, and then it would travel through it. So it's not now about like this. Come. What I need to do with this exercise was great because it teaches a follow through with the slap. Boom, like this. So it's got this kind of quality. So I call it the wet fish. So imagine you've got like a big wet salmon. It just gets carried away. You can imagine hitting someone in the face with a big wet fish. That will kind of do it. It'll get you in the right area. Something heavy, wet.
Aren't fish always wet anyway?
No, not if they're dry. I mean, you could dry the fish, right? I don't know. I'm not a fish expert. You can ask Nick. Sometimes you get a dry fish, right? Dry haddock. Something. Kippers, yeah, dried kippers, yeah. Smoked kippers. They're quite hard. I wouldn't want to be hit with one of those. You could use it as a tanto, maybe.
There's a famous Monty Python sketch, isn't there, with hitting on the face with the fish.
Yeah. Fish to the face. Yeah, that's it. The other one you can imagine, it might change a little bit. It's like one of the old things of like, if you go back to the medieval times or even before, that you would challenge someone by hitting them in the face with your glove, right? You would take the glove off and slap them in the face with the glove. That's the challenge to fight for a duel. So you can also imagine like an empty glove. Now I need to like get a whip kind of quality to it because I don't want the glove to like do that. I want the glove to like have a kind of snap to it. So it's got like that kind of quality. Now there's still a follow through, but it's like that. So now there's a bit of a clearer focus. So imagine something like that. This is why nunchuck training is great, because it teaches you how to snap and follow through. Snap and follow through. Yeah. There's a little bit of a different quality. Just to play with it a little bit. Good. Okay, we do the reverse side now. Okay, so one of my favorite strikes is the uraken, is this one. I'm not going to do it formally, but just have the feeling now you're going to wrap it across and strike it this way. So imagine it's going to come across this way. You can do this with the hand like this. So sometimes this will be used as the fingers. We'll go straight to the eyes, into the fingers. Not Aikido, but very effective. So it would be like that. You can also do it with the back of the fist. So just with the front two knuckles. But just get a sense of, and you can also just do it with the hand, kind of like this. The great thing about this strike is it can be quite loose, can function like a slap. But again, just kind of work with this one. It's like a backhanded slap or a reverse fist, or do even just with the fingers. So it's just about, again, the structure, getting this kind of chain whip-like quality. It's a really nice strike, especially for the shoulders. Yeah, the other one you can do, some of you are doing also, is like a karate chop, like a backhand, this one. And that would go to the neck, or it would go to the temple, something kind of flat. So it would be like that one. Would usually be followed up by another strike, but just get that kind of quality with it. The important thing now is like this whip quality. Okay. There we go, Catherine. There we go. Multiple. There we go. Yeah. Okay, great. So you can do this two ways. Usually we get here eventually in Aikido as well. It's like you'll stand your ground, people come in and you move from that position. So you imagine like you're surrounded, there's like people here, or they've just got focus pads and you can strike them out. And I don't need to really move from the spot to do that. You can just kind of move from it. But in Aikido, what we tend to do, especially working with like from Kihon, is you move first. So I make the first move, which means that what I'm trying to do is like get around the person. So if you think about like classic Ikkyo and come in, first move, it's like drawn out to the side or tension out, whatever it is, you're going to come out to the side first. So I make the first move to establish the connection, to put me in a different line. So play with these two ways. You can stand your ground, that's fine. That way, this way, just keeping the kind of center point. Also feel that you can also just move. And then this is where the interesting part in Aikido comes, because the movement and the strike kind of come together, and I want the strike, the footwork, everything to come together. So move the body, find the strike. And you do this with the yokomen, do this with a strike, just play with it a little bit. Keep it quite loose, and again, the focus is now like the lower body. And again, it goes back to this kind of exercise, so like this. This. Just play with it a little bit. And holding the ground in Aikido is like a really advanced level. So it's like, sometimes we do it, but I need to be totally certain I can pull it off. That's it. This is what's great about the Kihon waza, because the person's not going to move. And I need to do the technique where they are, not where I'm going to do it, where I am. I move to them, basically. Yeah, that's it. And this is where, like, again, we can get lost a bit in like delusional training. Very easy. This is where having like an object, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just something I can relate to. So I've got this and that, this and that. Yeah, so I've got some kind of focus, just a general focus. If I have no focus, zero focus, the tendency is like, I can strike anywhere and be successful. But imagine you're kind of going to move around. You can use a chair, you can use an object, you can just imagine something in the room. but just have the sense you're gonna move around. If we do like Tenahenko, this kind of work, it's about moving around an object, moving around an object, moving around an object. But just play with it a little bit. Just make it quite simple, but see if you can relate it to something else. Obviously, the big work in Aikido is like a wase, like working with someone else or working with another object, blending with it. There we go. That's it. Yeah, exactly, Bettina. Yeah, good. Trees are the best for this for me. Like if I go for not a human, I go for a tree or a dog. Dogs are also great. If you've got a dog, you can also do this with. Don't hit the dog. Definitely don't hit the dog, but use them as, or a child. You can use a small child, 7 years old, so that they move erratically. Also good. Don't hit them, but just get the sense you can move around them, relate with them. Dogs are great. Trees are the best because they don't talk back, and they don't move. You can train them for hours. They don't get bored.
And if you hit them, they don't cry.
Yeah, exactly. They don't cry to mum. Yeah, good. I'm gonna get in trouble. Uh-oh. There we go. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Nice. Great. Okay, take a Joe. A little bit of booty look. Okay, good. We're just going to work from this position. So just the first Suburi, just coming from here. Again, really centering the body, finding the ground here, and then just initiating the movement, coming into the ski. Nice and slow, coming back. So no speed, no power, just really looking at the movement. Again, my relationship to the ground, how I use the joint system, having a very clear focus. The good thing about the weapon is it channels my focus. So let everything go down the weapon. You do it. Just the first Suburi. So. Nice. Okay, so just look at the end position. So it doesn't have quite the same quality. It has it, but it's a bit more difficult to find. It's a bit more hidden, right? So this kind of wave whip quality in the Joe, it's a bit hard to find. So just get the sense that as you do it, it matters where I finish the Joe. It matters where I finish the ski. So if I'm doing the ski like here somewhere, or I'm like going into this kind of position, it'd be very difficult to kind of find that whip because it would be like trying to push someone here. So without doing the full extension, that kind of whip won't kind of come into it. If I go too far with it, so let's say I do something like this, then I'm kind of pulled out of the system. So the wave has no real impact, that thing has no impact. And that's like punching like this. So everything gets like, whoa. I get the wave, it's quite loose, but there's no structure for it to fall back into. So just get a sense of when you finish the ski. So me, it's somewhere there. And that means I can basically press down and push out at the same time. So not quite press and pull, but there's a kind of expansion there. And it needs to be, for me, it needs to be really exact. needs to be in this area. The moment I go here, no, I can't do it. The moment I go there, no, I've lost it. So just find the point for you. It's totally your own point. It really depends on your own body. I can give some general guidelines if you're kind of lost with it, but just kind of find the right amount of extension. Just there. For me, it's just that point. And to find it, the best way is like do it too short, do it too long. Just find that kind of middle point where it just feels like I'm grounded, but I can pass a kind of flexible strike through it. That's it. And just feel what happens when you take it too far and when you just kind of too tight to the body. Yeah, there. That's it. That's it. Yeah, similar story with the bokken. You can do this. I'm not totally against it. It's not ideal, but it doesn't really work when I do it with makiwara. So hitting something won't really do this. So when you do this, just watch. There's a tendency of like twisting something or kinking something. So something's kind of happening in the wrist, which is like something like that maybe. This is okay if I do this kind of strike. So I do that kind of strike, but I fully rotate into it. And this is where you're going much more into like Jodo work. So then in that case, the jaw will fully twist, come into this position. But we don't do this ski in terms of our work. You can relate it to the work, but it's not really our basic. So when you do this, just watch the wrist doesn't do these kind of things. So again, it's like the sort of, it's not doing a kind of twisting thing. It happens naturally that the hands kind of snap together and there's a kind of there's a coming towards center like this, but it's not the wrist doing it. It's not that, or pushing out or something like that. So it's the same problem we've got with the bokken work. I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that. I need to let that kind of happen naturally with a snap. So just imagine like impacting something. I need the whole joint to come into position. But the moment I'm doing something like that, I'm putting the wrist really in a weak position. And then I'm going to take the force into it. So the best way to train this is like with a makiwara, really soft. Again, with a tree, cover the tree with something so you don't destroy it. Or use a tatami on the wall. Use a soft cushion. Doesn't have to be hard impact stuff, but it's just so you get a very, very clear feedback on the position of the wrist. And basically, I'm not really interested in like these extra movements. So the more I can get rid of extra movements that are like unnecessary, make the movement more natural. That's where you want to go. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Oh. Nice. Good, good, good. Nice. Okay, this point's a bit more general, and don't worry about this too much because it comes naturally with time. If you're kind of still learning the movements, you're not quite comfortable with them. Just get a sense now, what we do with the jaw work is like, again, it's like center to center work. So the moment when I take the kamae, I want to be totally centered in the body, like on my own axis. What I don't want to happen is like when I take the kamae, I'm loaded into the jaw. So there's like a thing of leaning on it, very subtle, but I'm trapped in the front foot and I'm leaning into the jaw. It's like a crutch. If I take the jaw away, the body's going to fall into it. So just get the sense that when you find this position, it's quite subtle, but get the feeling that you're already independent. And the jaw's just there. The jaw's kind of independent too. If I let go of it, it's going to do its own thing. But I'm not kind of leaning on it as a crutch. So this is really important when I get into repetitious suburi. Every time I can get back to this position. There, center down, and then there. So just feel when you come back to the position, the center, and then the jaw. But try not to link those too much together. Now I've lost my balance basically because I've given it to the jaw. So just find that you're independent. You have an independent center. The jaw has one too. Everyone else has one too. And how we relate to each other, or how we relate to things in that way, is where we do Aikido. Yeah. And this is quite subtle. So it's like, I can be millimeters out, more forward, more leaning into the jaw, and it will really matter. Good. Okay, good. Got it. But okay, then the thing is that I need to merge my center with the jaw center. So this is true when we do Aikido. So if I've got one person in front of me, they've got a separate center, I've got a separate center. There's a point when I need to merge them together. So we come to a position where they become one thing, right? And then you're doing the technique, you're doing Ikkyo. So there needs to be a point when I find that merge, and then you're working together, not as kind of two separate things. And then you split at the end again. So get the thing with the jaw, it's like, it's that, the jaw is separate. And then there's a point when I initiate it there. I bring the jaw into my center. So it's coming in towards me. I link it to my center and then I press it out. So the jaw now is part of me. So it's included in the center. So I've co-opted the jaw center for me. This is manipulation, but it's done in a nice way later with Aikido. But what I want to do is like independent, I merge, I go in. It's really part of my system now. So it really, really feels like part of me. And then I let it go again. And then it's separate again. So it's got that kind of quality. And it's in that second step. It's in that kind of blend in when you find this. Center merges in. And this is not really an easy point, but see if you can feel it. You do this all the time when you drive a car. You merge your center with the car through your grip, through the way you sit in the car. And you notice like when someone adjusts your car seat, it's off. I'm off center. It's too far away. So I need to get to the right position. So this is about being like comfortable with the connection. Or maybe you ride a bike, whatever you do, something like that. A skateboard, whatever you do, anything that's like this. Surfing, skateboarding, driving a car, it's all the same. Essentially the same action. A horse is a good one. If you ever ride a horse, horse has its own mind, not like a car. Good. That's it. Okay, good. Good. Now just watch overwhelming urges to do this. I need to connect to the jaw, bring my center in, hand does it. Hand pulls it out. So again, just get the sense that again, it's like the center, this kind of stuff, these exercises, this again, I need to mobilize the center into the jaw. So it's got the sense like the center, boom, presses into the jaw. So break it down a little bit as well, and just feel that you can just like bring the center in, press the jaw out. So everything's going to go together. And it's not that the hand does nothing, it's that the hand's led by the center. So it's quite soft in the hands. But the moment I see something like this, I've broken my center. So I've destroyed the possibility to connect center to center. So center to center, boom, there. And then go. And feel free to break the form up totally. Totally break the form down. You also go to number 2, kind of the same action. Number 2, number 1. So really simple stuff, but this is really, again, where you can make serious changes in the way you relate to things. Interesting. Okay, interesting. That's it, Adrian. Good. Slipping. Just watch this one. This can happen now a lot. So just be aware of it. That I slip past the jaw. Oh, now I slip past the center. This is okay if I'm going to go to like a Rimine or something, like slip past the center. That's okay. For Joe, I need to like straight away because I want to include it in the body like right now. Here, if I slip past it, then I've got to do something else to kind of bring it back in. So just watch. I can do two things. I can clash with the jaw. I can slip past it, or I can just include it in the body. Yeah, and this is like fine line. So you're either slipping past, you're clashing into it, or you merge the centers. And this is where we work Taina Henko. This is all the time the case when we do techniques. I just slip past the person, I clash with them, we clash together, or I just blend. So at the end of the day, this is just blending work, but you're doing it with a gel. That's it. That's it, Nick. Yeah, good. Got it. That's it. So, again, really simple stuff, but that's it. Yeah, Catherine, that's it. 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 There we go. Got it. Boom. Got it. Boom. That's it. Yeah. Boom. Good. Good. Okay, we'll go back again to where we left off yesterday. So just looking at the 6 can. So just nice and slowly through it. So we'll do the whole set straight in. So you're going to go in, draw back, striking down, coming back, gerangai shi, and then coming into the skikamai. We'll just run through it nice and slow. Again, just working on all this kind of connection work that we've done this week and today, this morning. Take it nice and slow. Just there. Nice and calm. Oh.
Michael,
Yeah,
can you do it to the camera, please?
sure.
Thank you.
Here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now,
Okay,
again.
thank you.
Got it. Just a skin. I've got a prop today. I'm going to show you a prop. It's the first time I've got a prop like this. So when we do this, I'm going to explain first and then I'll show you the prop. When we do the Seitai work, all the work we do about center and balancing, it's about like forming a sphere in the body. So it's called like a dynamic sphere that was a really popular Aikido book back in the 70s or the 80s. Called the dynamic sphere. And they basically explain this principle like I create a sphere and I put it in movement. That's basically what we're doing. Now, most of us see like the spheres like here. This part is the center.
Sorry,
Around it.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I have a question
Yeah.
of the word vocabulary.
Yeah.
A sphere like this?
Oh, one sec. I can't see.
What's a sphere?
A sphere, like a globe, Got a globe, like a big circle.
Ah, a sphere.
There we go, like John's got. I'm going to show you it. Yeah, John. This is better than mine. Damn it, John. Look at John. Oh, sorry, I've muted you. Sorry, John, I muted you. This sphere, that's a great one. Super.
Thanks.
Christmas ball.
Football, yeah, a football. I got a bigger one. Mine's bigger than yours, so. I got this one. This is a paper mache coronavirus for carnival. So, but anyway, what we tend to think of in terms of the center is like it's here, and I revolve around it, right? So I do these kind of revolving movements, or I move through it. So I pass spirals through the ball with the center. That's one way to look at it. So you can look at it this way. The other way you can look at it, which is a bit more interesting, is if you imagine you're not just a sphere here floating on the ground, but your sphere is included in the ground. So imagine like the bottom of the sphere is embedded in the ground. So it goes, I need a bigger ball, but you've got like the top of the sphere is here like a dome, and then the rest of it's included in the ground underneath you. So I'm trying to use that kind of connection when I do it. So this is how I include the ground in my kind of thinking about it. So I'm not just like an independent sphere on the ground. You are that too. You're an independent sphere, but your sphere bigger is embedded in another system, a bigger sphere, the Earth, much bigger than ours. So just get a sense that when you do this, now the sphere needs to be balanced. If at any point my sphere, personal sphere, is out of balance, that's when I'm going to lose the connection to the ground. It's going to be very light. So keep the sense that the Seitai stuff, all this work is like personal sphering work. Then I basically need to make all the directions, put all the directions in balance, at least mostly in balance, more in than out of balance. So, and then what I want you to feel is like as you take these positions, this sphere is actually bigger because it's including the ground in it, rather than just me. So that I can have all the right balance, everything, but I'm not relating it to the ground. That's when I'm not really heavy, I'm quite light. So just again, it's a bit blah blah, but get the sense of the sphere passing over the body and through the body. I use for one of my dojos like the water drop image, because this is a classic example of something heavy down below. So it like tapers to a point, fine point, and then it expands open out, and all the weight's underneath it. So imagine a sphere is a good one because it's 4-dimensional. So it's going to like rotate, revolve, and then pass through. So when I do all these movements, it's about relating this sphere to the ground. To the ground. To the ground. To the ground. Just keep that in mind as you do it. That's it. Again, what you're looking for is just something more dense, more heavy, and more functional in the end. And Aikido is like a really inclusive art. It's about including. It's not about excluding. So it's about extension, opening, inclusion, all this kind of stuff. And this is where we really practice it. Yeah, that's it. Good. Nice, Nick. Very nice. That's it. Good. So one of the things that's nice with the Jo is that it's by nature it's quite circular, because a lot of the movements involve like turning the Jo, spinning the Jo, revolving it around, all this kind of stuff. So just by the very nature of the weapon, the work's a bit more circular. You look at the Bokken work, it tends to be pretty linear. So it's like flat lines, straight lines, boom, boom, this kind of stuff. Now you can still pass a spiral through that, but the Jo's just naturally more circular. So just get a sense that you're working with either an arc, a circle, a sphere, or a spiral. But in this case, just find arcs through the body. The first step is like finding arcs. So this kind of arc through the ski. This is an arc. This is a big arc. This is an arc. This is a huge arc. This is an arc. This way. So just look in the form, how many movements you can translate into like an arcing movement. Later, you're going to make them circular. And as soon as you can find circles, you can find spirals, because you're basically just putting them into movement. So just work with something like circular. something more round. And use the Jo to its the best qualities of the Jo. This is where the Jo really works. Yeah. That's it. There we go. I want to get quite quickly away from like linear lines, like straight lines, flat lines. So, yeah. Okay. Nice. Ooh, very nice. Okay, we're going to pass it down, so we're going to make it from a 6 set into just a 1 movement. So we're going to start by just bridging some of the gaps in the form. So you can do this lots of ways. There's a number of ways I've seen people break it down or mix the forms up in different ways. I'm just going to do it this way for today. So it's like this way, you're going to ski in. Now I'm going to skip through this form and then this form. So I'm going to go straight into like a Aikikai sheet. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a nice simple 5 set, and you just do it with a Aikikai. So skip out the kind of pull back. Goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And keep it still with like an inner Kihon level. So you're still using the pauses. But you just merge those 2 and what was 2 and 3 now. It's going straight into a Aikikai. And keep the rest of the forms really clear. We'll merge them next. That's it. Again, look for something quite circular. The Aikikai is totally circular movement. That's it. Great. Got it. H, O, H, H, O. Nice. Okay, good. So we're going to cover the easy merges, and then we'll do the difficult ones later. So what you do now is this: you go 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So the last one, the Aikikai where you did before, 1, 2. Now that all just happens together. So you've got from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4. All just comes together. Okay, give it a try, just in 4. So you just merge now the Gedan-Gaishi. 4 movements. And just let the Gedan-Gaishi go. So it just goes and then find the Kamae. And imagine really striking through something. So it's still a strike, still functions as a strike. Just doesn't stop. That's it. That's it. There we go. That's it. 4 moves. Okay. Yeah, so this can look like a change in the handwork, and it's not. The hands are doing exactly the same thing as they were before. There, there. Now all you do is change the hip work, so the hip becomes flexible. So especially the back hip now is going to do something like that. That's what initiates the swing. So it's that. But the hands are essentially doing the same thing. So it's not now like this, kind of pushing out or something like this. You will disconnect from the weapon very easily. So just make a connection that's like that. So it's really much more focused in the lower body. Much more about the lower body. Okay, there we go. Got it. Good. Okay, we'll do one of the hard ones. So this comes in like this. You go in, you make the hayagaishi, and then I draw it straight back. And then I come through straight in. So now it's 3 movements. So this one goes here, strike, draw back. That's 1 move. And then 3 comes into here. So this is a pretty tricky one. Don't worry about it. If you can do it, you can do it. But it's like 1, 2, 3. This way. Give it a try. Feel free to also go down to the basics. So you can do it as 4, 5, 6. If you can do it as 3, great. Just train at that place. Okay, good. This is a pretty tricky one. Okay. Yeah. Okay, when things get difficult, we tend to cheat. So watch this. I either do this, and I just speed the form up. So I just go like fast, but that's not really it. It's also not this, watch this. That's a big cheat because I'm not making the strike. So I just kind of move and spin through it. So really see if you can get something. I do it really slow. It's like, so the strike happens and then I blow it through. So it goes whoa like this, but it doesn't go whoa, and it doesn't go fast. So just play with it because this is a really tricky form. It matters what you're doing with the feet. I'll just say that. So again, it's a kind of hip work exercise. Just give it a try. Oh, I'm running out of time. Totally. Oops. Okay, we got to 3 moves next week. That's it. Good, that's it. So keep the intention of the strike, but just flow it through. Again, it's got this whip quality. Uraken, exactly. It's strike, withdraw, strike, withdraw. So I was on a seminar once with Inagaki sensei, and he said that the heart of the jo work was in striking and withdrawing the jo. So this was translated from Polish and then into English, but so maybe he didn't really say this, but he was explaining it like this kind of stuff. So the jo work is that it's about retracting. So it's about pulling the jo back. So it's about retracting the jo. So the strikes are going to like come back into the body. Why is that? I'm going to make the last question just for this week. Why is that? Why is that the case with the jo? There's a really obvious answer.
Once you grab it.
Yeah, exactly. Because someone can grab it. It's not got a blade. If you think about a sword, if I strike with a sword, nobody can grab the sword from the blade type. They can maybe try, get away with it, but you're not going to risk grabbing a katana. With a jo, I will just grab it. So if I avoid it, I will grab the jo. And then I've immobilized the person's ability to strike. They can do something else, but they've lost that ability to strike now. So that's the kind of key point with us when we go to jo work. So it's about kind of retracting the jo, being able to like press it in and withdraw it. Press it in, follow through with it. So I'm always drawing it back to my body so that if someone does try to grab it, I can control it. The moment I leave it out, it's gonna get grabbed. So it's about this, all these movements are like retracting the jo. And I'm putting them in a position where it can't really be grabbed. Close to the body, close to the body. And then I can use it in that way. Yeah. Okie dokie. Okay, good. So if you've got it as 3 movements, you can very easily just make it into 1. So if you want to play with it, we'll do it a little bit next week probably, but it's very easy now. You can just make the transition from 3 to 1. It's really easy. You just flow through it much more. So give it a try if you want in the weekend. Okay. So about. Hi. どうもありがとうございました。
どうも Arigato gozaimasu.
Okay, great. So
Thank you, Michael.
that's it for the week.